Welcome to Module 9, Transportation Crises. In this module, we explore what happens when movement becomes risk. Transportation systems connect millions of people every day by air, sea, rail, and road. JK, something goes wrong in these systems, the stakes are extraordinarily high. Lives hang in the balance. The world watches in real time, and communication becomes the critical difference between trust and chaos. This module examines why transportation crises demand precision, speed, and empathy, all at once. Why do transportation crises matter so much? 3 reasons: high visibility, high stakes, and high velocity. Transportation systems move millions of people daily. When something goes wrong, the entire world watches, often through live footage and passenger cell phone videos. Lives are literally at risk. Reputations are on the line, and the public demands answers immediately, not in hours, but in minutes. Unlike other crises that might unfold behind closed doors, transportation crises happen in public view, creating intense pressure on organizations to communicate quickly, accurately, and with genuine empathy. Transportation crises are fundamentally different from other organizational crises. Research shows they receive 3 times more media coverage than typical corporate emergencies. Why? First, passengers are trapped and vulnerable. They cannot simply leave the situation. Second, real-time social media documentation means every moment is captured and shared instantly. Third, these crises combine technical complexity with raw human emotion. Families waiting for news, people fearing for their safety. And fourth, regulatory oversight and formal investigations begin immediately, adding legal complexity to communication challenges. This unique combination of factors makes transportation crises some of the most challenging communication situations an organization can face. Let's examine a real case, the Holland America Zaandam cruise ship crisis. In 2019, the Zaandam faced a norovirus outbreak, already a serious health concern. Then, COVID-19 struck during transit in 2020, turning a manageable situation into a nightmare. Multiple ports refused entry as the virus spread. Passengers found themselves stranded at sea for weeks, unable to disembark anywhere. The sister ship Rotterdam eventually provided rescue assistance. Finally, after weeks of international negotiations and mounting media attention, the ship docked in Florida. This case illustrates how transportation crises can escalate when multiple systems fail simultaneously: health, diplomatic, and operational, all while passengers remain trapped and vulnerable. To understand cruise ship crises, you need to grasp the scale and complexity involved. Carnival Corporation alone operates 9 cruise lines with over 90 ships, carrying millions of passengers annually. Think about that. These vessels are essentially floating cities. They have complex mechanical systems, confined spaces, diverse international crews, and passengers from dozens of countries. When crisis strikes on a cruise ship, communication must address multiple audiences simultaneously: passenger safety, crew coordination, regulatory compliance with maritime law, and intense media management, all happening at once, often while the ship is literally in the middle of the ocean. And all of this unfolds under intense public scrutiny, with families at home desperately seeking information about their loved ones. When transportation crisis hits, chaos is immediate. The incident command center becomes your control hub, but only if you establish it correctly. Here's what must happen instantly. Establish a clear command structure with designated decision-making authority. Create information flow protocols so facts move quickly to the right people. Coordinate seamlessly between operations teams who manage the technical response, legal teams who handle liability concerns, and communications teams who manage public messaging. Monitor all channels continuously: social media, news coverage, internal reports, and document everything in real time. Why? Because in the heat of crisis, memory fails. Documentation protects the organization legally and ensures consistent messaging across all stakeholders. The crisis communicator serves as the critical bridge between technical operations and public understanding. Your role is multifaceted. Translate complex technical information into clear public messages that non-experts can understand. Balance the tension between speed, the public wants answers now, and accuracy. Getting facts wrong destroys credibility. Manage stakeholder expectations across multiple, often conflicting audiences. Passengers want safety information. Families want updates. Regulators want compliance data. Media want dramatic narratives. You coordinate messaging between operations teams focused on fixing the problem and public affairs teams managing external perception. You monitor social media to identify and correct misinformation before it spreads. And you prepare spokespersons for hostile media interviews. This role requires calm under pressure, exceptional judgment, and the ability to think strategically while operating at crisis speed. January 15th, 2009. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 takes off from LaGuardia Airport in New York. Seconds later, a bird strike disables both engines. Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger makes the split-second decision to attempt an emergency landing on the Hudson River, something rarely attempted and even more rarely survived. Miraculously, all 155 passengers and crew survive. This becomes known as the Miracle on the Hudson. But here's what's interesting from a communication perspective. Even in this good news crisis, communication was critical. U.S. Airways immediately confirmed facts before speaking publicly. They celebrated the crew's heroism while remaining humble. They prioritized passenger care and family reunification, and they coordinated transparently with investigators. The result? A crisis that could have destroyed the airline instead became a testament to training, professionalism, and effective crisis communication. A good news crisis is a fascinating phenomenon. Even when outcomes are positive, everyone survives, disaster is averted, communication challenges remain significant. Media attention is still intense. The public still demands transparency. Technical investigations continue, often for months or years. Lessons must be documented and shared to prevent future incidents. And here's the tricky part. Hero narratives can oversimplify complex situations. While celebrating the captain's skill, organizations must also address why the crisis happened, what systemic issues contributed, and what will prevent recurrence. The challenge is acknowledging success while remaining accountable for the underlying vulnerabilities that allowed the crisis to occur in the first place. Research reveals a critical window in transportation crises, approximately 32 minutes. That's how long organizations have to establish initial communication before public narratives solidify and become nearly impossible to change. Notice I said establish communication, not explain everything. In that first half hour, you must say something acknowledging the situation. You must avoid speculation about causes. Getting early speculation wrong is worse than waiting. You commit to providing updates as information becomes available. And here's the key principle. Prioritize accuracy over speed when it comes to technical details. It's better to say, we are investigating and will provide updates, than to speculate incorrectly about what caused the incident. The 32-minute rule is about presence and acknowledgement, not premature explanation. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 disappears in March 2014. The plane vanishes from radar over the Indian Ocean. For weeks, investigators have almost no concrete information. And here's where communication breaks down catastrophically. When facts are scarce, speculation fills the void. Cable news networks bring on so-called aviation experts who speculate wildly about hijacking, terrorism, mechanical failure, pilot suicide. Social media amplifies every unverified theory, from conspiracy theories to supernatural explanations. Family members receive conflicting information from different sources. Trust in the airline and government investigators erodes rapidly because organizations cannot provide clear answers. This case illustrates a brutal truth. When you don't control the information flow, non-expert experts will fill the vacuum with speculation, rumor, and increasingly outlandish theories. Your silence doesn't protect you. It destroys credibility. Not all transportation crises result from human error or mechanical failure. Nature itself can be the crisis driver. Bird strikes, severe weather events, volcanic ash clouds, hurricanes, earthquakes. These natural phenomena create unique communication challenges. Organizations face questions about preparedness. Why didn't you see this coming? What prevention measures were in place? Technical explanations must be accessible to general audiences who don't understand aviation meteorology or engineering. Regulatory compliance and safety protocols require clear documentation to demonstrate the organization followed proper procedures. And there's often a tension between acknowledging nature's power, which is beyond organizational control, and maintaining accountability for how the organization prepared for and responded to predictable natural risks. Let's talk about crisis plans that actually work versus those that collect dust. Unusable plans are those 200-page binders that nobody has ever read with outdated contact lists from 3 organizational restructures ago and generic templates that don't fit any real scenario. When crisis hits, these binders stay on the shelf because they're unusable under pressure. Usable plans look different. One-page action checklists that people can follow when adrenaline is high. Pre-approved holding statements ready to adapt and release immediately. Updated contact trees that actually reach the right people. Scenario-specific response guides tailored to your organization's actual risks. And most importantly, regular training and drills so people know what to do before crisis strikes. The test of a good crisis plan isn't how comprehensive it is. It's whether your team can actually use it when everything is falling apart. When transportation crisis strikes, every single second counts. Let's break down the first 60 seconds. 0 to 15 seconds. Confirm the incident is real and immediately activate your command center. 15 to 30 seconds. Notify key stakeholders internally so leadership knows before they hear from media or social media. 30 to 45 seconds. Prepare your initial holding statement so you have something to say when media calls. 45 to 60 seconds. Begin monitoring social media and news channels to understand what information is already public and what narratives are forming. This may sound impossible, but organizations that train for crisis can execute these steps in parallel. The 60-second rule isn't about having all the answers. It's about mobilizing your response infrastructure before crisis momentum overwhelms your capacity to respond effectively. Let's compare 2 real-world responses. Southwest Airlines Flight 1380 in April 2018. An engine explodes mid-flight, killing 1 passenger. Southwest's response? Immediate acknowledgement within minutes. Transparent investigation updates shared publicly. CEO Gary Kelly personally contacted affected families before any public statement. Regular media briefings with factual information. The result? Despite a fatality, Southwest maintained public trust. Now contrast that with Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 in 2014. Delayed communication for hours. Conflicting statements from airline and government. Poor family notification. Some families learned from media. An information vacuum that speculation filled instantly. The result? Massive, lasting reputational damage that the airline never recovered from. Same industry, same type of crisis. Completely different communication approaches. Completely different outcomes. The lesson? Communication quality during crisis directly determines whether organizations survive or fail. Let's walk through the transportation crisis decision flowchart step by step. Start with incident confirmation. Verify the crisis is real. First decision point: is there immediate danger to life? If yes, activate emergency protocols immediately and notify authorities. If no, assess severity level. Next, determine affected stakeholders: passengers, crew members, families, regulatory agencies, media, general public. Establish your command center with clear roles. Prepare your initial statement. Remember, acknowledge without speculating. Monitor all channels continuously. Social media moves faster than traditional media. Update messaging as facts emerge. Never go silent for more than a few hours. Coordinate with investigators. Regulatory compliance is mandatory, but coordinate communication so you're not working against each other. Throughout this entire process, always prioritize two things: safety first and accuracy in every statement you make. Let's crystallize the key lessons from this module. First, truth builds trust, and accuracy matters more than speed. In transportation crises, getting facts right is more important than being first to speak. Second, silence creates speculation. If you don't fill the information vacuum, others will, often incorrectly and harmfully. Nature abhors a vacuum, so does crisis communication. Third, plans must be practical. A one-page checklist you can actually use under pressure beats a 200-page binder you can't find when crisis strikes. Fourth, communication is coordination. Effective crisis response requires seamless coordination between operations teams managing the technical response, legal teams managing liability, and communications teams managing stakeholders. Break down silos, or your message will be incoherent and contradictory. I want to leave you with one final thought about transportation crisis communication. Technical excellence saves lives. Communication excellence saves reputations. Both matter. You can execute a perfect technical response, land the plane safely, rescue every passenger, fix every mechanical problem. But if you fail at communication, the organization's reputation will be destroyed anyway. Conversely, no amount of brilliant communication can overcome a failed technical response. Transportation crises demand excellence in both domains simultaneously. As future crisis communicators, your role is to ensure that when your organization performs technical miracles under pressure, the world understands, trusts, and respects how you handled the impossible. That's the challenge. That's the responsibility. And that's why this work matters.